Hello and welcome back to What I Think I Know with your host, Dan Briantino. Hey, it's finally cold enough to wear a t-shirt again. I like that. Last week we were talking about the Supreme Court and some firearms cases that I was hoping that they were going to agree to talk about. They looked at a total of 97 cases. They chose to look at one. Great. It was a nonsense. It's climate change. Who's liable? Are we allowed to sue oil companies? Kind of thing. A baloney case. Nobody cares about. No firearms cases. They have this Friday. They're going to look at more cases and decide again whether we're going to hear them or not. And then they'll release what they decided on Monday. So same day this will come out. So we'll know more next week. Just ridiculous. Clinton, Hillary, and Bill were finally deposed. Unfortunately, they didn't get arrested for skipping out on their subpoenas, but hey, what are you going to do? As far as we know, nothing happened important anyway, and why would they ever tell on themselves? So nothing's going to come of that, I'm quite sure. But we'll find out later. In California news, Cam Higbee found, end of last week or something, that California government had given CHRLA, which is the Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights, over $100 million. Great. It's kind of a partisan issue, I think. I don't think our government should be giving money to a private organization that is very much one side of the street there. What are you going to do? If you do look up CHRLA, their website is, what I did was type in CHILRA, RLA, of course, CHRLA. And you could find out what they do with all that money. Yeah, sure, some of it's going to assisting illegals get their immigration papers worked out, organized, and then they also do a fair amount of protesting and things like that. So, great, our government's paying for protesters to protest against us. That's lovely. Also in California, Planned Parenthood is getting $90 million. Yippee! Again, kind of a one-sided issue. Should we really be just dumping all the stuff straight into one group? Well, in California, that's all we get. The Republicans, nobody cares about us. Even though 40% of our state voted for President Trump. This is just stuff that right under the radar. Another really fun thing. This has been going on since 1996, when we passed Prop 209, which was a civil rights thing. The government can't prevent you from going to school or being hired by the government or whatever, a bunch of other things based on race, religion, all that sort of stuff, sex, all that. In 2020, we had Prop 16, which was voted against 57%, and that was going to replace 209 with weaker standards and whatnot. And just recently, we had ACA 7. It passed the House. With the way California works, it's most likely going to pass the Senate and get onto the governor's desk, and I'm sure he will sign it. That's not 100% how it happens, but most of the time that's how it goes. And it is essentially an anti-discrimination law. It will allow people to, or the government rather, to discriminate based on sex, race, religion, whatever. So all this fighting for, white Christian men to die, that looks like they're getting it legalized. So maybe the hunting season will begin, and we should be wearing some vests. But anyway, now that is not a call to violence, I will say, but it is a call to schools and whatnot. No, we don't have to listen to straight white men in schools, the students and whatnot. We don't have to hire straight white men for positions in schools or any other part of government. They can do whatever they want, not based on skin, whatever, sex, all that stuff. It's a beautiful thing. We're moving in the right direction, says the Democrats. Getting rid of anti-discrimination laws. Lovely. Here is my favorite clip that I saw this week.
When you guys want to make $20,
Not particularly.
all you have to do is scream.
Nope.
What about 40, 60, 80,
We're not gonna scream.
100?
Nope.
What about you, miss? You want to make $20? 40, 60,
No, not money.
200. I got 200 right here.
No, it's okay.
All right, Walmart. I'm going to get someone to scream. Rain bet pregame. Anybody want to make a quick 20?
Yeah,
All you got to do is scream.
as loud as I can.
As loud as you can, bro.
Is that good? That.
And that would appear where the gender pay gap comes from. Women don't want to do things like let out a scream in a store. They won't do it for $200. All you got to do is scream, and the guy's going to give you $200 in cash. And all of them, no, I won't do that. But you go up to the fella in the Walmart and you go, $20, man. He goes, no problem. It's a beautiful thing. Great description. Here's a little bit more liberal lady logic for you.
If you think that women shouldn't have abortions because that's the natural consequence for having sex, then I think we can both agree that the natural consequence for raping somebody should be having their cut off. I think that's a fair argument to make.
Now you might hear that one and go, yeah, sounds fair to me. Absolutely. Get rid of reproductive rights, which is just murdering your child. There's no reproduction in that. It's preventing reproduction rights. That's why we have birth control. Maybe try that. But anyway, I think, yeah, stop abortions, and if a fella rapes a woman, chop his dick and balls off. I think that's a terrific idea. And so does everybody else in the comments. Here's a little snapshot of everything in the comments. She had to actually try to explain herself. This is not what I meant. Well, sorry, honey. It's what you get, okay? Think things through before you just throw them out there next time. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. The people in the comments are spot on. Astute, if you will. Another clip here that is a little bit more disturbing, not violent or anything like that, but it's actually more along the lines of the anti-discrimination stuff, where white men are being pushed down just a little bit. Check this out. So, I don't know a ton about soccer. It looks like he's lining up to do a penalty kick or something like that. This maybe African, Moroccan or something. I don't know what the hell he is. But anyway, this very dark-skinned fella comes up from behind him and pushes him on the shoulders. Now, head whips back and whatnot. That could be a fairly dangerous thing. Assumably he's Italian by the... but this possibly Italian man, but whatever, white guy, turns around and basically he's like, what the heck was that for? And for essentially asking, hey, why did you push me? Well, he gets the card. The ref doesn't like that. You want to talk back to a brown guy? No, sir. No, sir. That's a beautiful thing right there. Assault and, hey, man, what was that for? Well, hey man, what was that for? That's the real violence right there, okay? And I'd like to check in on our Muslim friends. We haven't done a directly Muslim talk in a few episodes, so here is a little clip from Piers Morgan.
Around quote-unquote grooming gangs, which is not even a criminal category that has... Look at who the majority of people... Ella Cobain, Dr. Ella Cobain, read her writings and understand these things rather than working from the space of feelings. Did you say grooming gangs are not a criminal category? It's not a criminal category.
It's not.
No, it is not a criminal category.
You mentioned the church.
This is raping young girls. It's not a criminal category.
Well, hang on a second. Can I just point
this out? It's not a criminal category. People are not prosecuted on the basis of grooming gangs. That's a media term which was used to promote this Islamophobic idea of the world.
Sorry, I can't let that go. Sorry, just to be clear, the grooming gangs was a criminal activity involving
criminal
a large
category
number,
by
a
law
large
is
number of
not
predominant.
a criminal activity.
Loki,
obviously, it's a criminal activity.
The rape
it is
and
not
abuse,
a category
the rape
by
and
law.
abuse of thousands of young, largely white English girls by a group of largely British. Pakistani Muslim men in places like Rotherham and Telford was absolutely a criminal activity.
That's
which
not
is
what
why
I said, Piers.
Piers Morgan himself, a fairly interesting fella, kind of on the lines of Bill Maher, where he sort of is like accepting at least of some right-wing values, but largely he's a liberal. It's a very interesting dynamic. But Bill Maher is definitely more on the side of the right, which this is my left hand, so on the side of the right, whereas Piers is definitely more on the side of the left. But still interesting fellas, interesting dynamics. Now, this clip in particular is sort of disgusting. The Muslim fella there is claiming that grooming gangs are not a crime, is what it appears anyway. I think he was more speaking to the fact that, like, grooming gang as a term, I'm not doing that as in like, oh, grooming gang, like it's not real or something. No, I'm doing that as actual quotes there. Grooming gang as a term is not written in the law, essentially, which I'm quite certain it is, but he doesn't believe that for some reason. Something I also noticed in this clip is Cenk from the Young Turks. Again, the Young Turks were a genocidal group who killed Christians and Jews in Armenia and Greece, and Turkey, I mean. Well, in that video, he just kind of sits there and smiles. I think he was daydreaming about being a part of one of those grooming gangs. He's a very, very scary fella, to be honest. He's gotten semi-violent on multiple occasions. Here's one of them with Alex Jones.
Nobody watches it. You do the ratings.
Saudi Arabians are funny enough, you little jihad.
Hey, first of all, let me explain something, all right? Okay, this is bullshit.
Okay, hold on. We're against Saudi Arabia, you dumbass. We talk about that all the time. Oh, really? We talk about that all the time. You don't know shit. What do you think, the lizard people?
And that's just a straight-up assault on Alex Jones. You might not know this, but if you are holding something and somebody grabs that thing, they don't have to touch you, but because the thing is touching you, that's assault. So I wish Alex Jones pressed charges on him, but it doesn't appear that he did. Anyway, I don't know if Cenk is a Muslim or not, but we know that guy speaking in the first clip there was, and what he was speaking to was a little bit off. And if you were wondering, is it all Muslims? It can't be every Muslim out there that thinks like this. Here's a clip that might change your mind.
Always can come with the same accusations. This speaker supports death penalty for they subjugate women, etc. The same old stuff coming all the time. I always try to tell them that it's not that speaker that we're inviting who has these extreme radical views, as you say. These are general views that every Muslim actually has. Every Muslim believes in these things. Just because they're not telling you about it, or just because they're not out there in the media, doesn't mean they don't believe in them. So I will ask you, everyone in the room, how many of you are normal Muslims? You're not extremists, you're not radical, just normal Sunni Muslims. Please raise your hands. Everybody, mashallah, subhanallah. How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible for humankind? Who agrees with that? Allahu Akbar. Are you all radical extremists? What is the media going to say now? We're all radicals. We need to deport all of us from this country?
Well, there you go. Everybody in that room, just about, minus a couple hands, but they were probably just, kind of lazy sort of thing. They just weren't being a part of it. Every hand in that room goes up to the question, are you just a normal Muslim or are you extremist? Raise your hand for normal. Yeah, we're just normal Muslims. Okay, well, do you agree with all these extremist beliefs? Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That's just normal Muslim. They told on themselves. That's a wonderful thing right there. I love to see the true colors come out. Moving on to another segment. I've been saying that for years. I've been saying this for maybe not years, but, well, I don't. At this point, yes, it has been years. I've been saying, essentially, that we've got to wait and watch what happens. With Trump's first administration, we all thought it was going to be drain the swamp immediately and it was all going to be wonderful and beautiful. And then we saw the Russia Gate and all that stuff happen from the left attacking him. And we realized by kind of towards the end of his 4 years there, his own team was actually against him. So this new administration, he decided to kind of get everybody out of there and bring in a whole new group of people, which is the right move. And one of the things that people have been a little bit disappointed in is Pam Bondi. And I think I mentioned this on a previous episode, but it's possible I didn't. You remember they called in a bunch of clip people, video makers, whatever, influencers, there we go. And they gave them all binders full of information from the Epstein files. And there was we were all like, what the heck, what was that? We don't care. There was nothing on them. What's going on here? And then later they released the video of the jail cell. And they said, here's the full unedited video. And then right as we get to the part where Epstein dies, there's a clear edit. And we're like, well, I thought you said this wasn't edited. And there's been all kinds of weird stuff going on with Pam Bondi. She also mentioned, she has all the files on her table, and then later said, oh, she hasn't looked at them yet or something. I can't remember exactly what happened there. But what I've kind of been thinking is all of that has been to stir things up, almost to make the liberal news media believe that they're hiding something. That's what it would seem like from while looking at it from Pam Bondi is doing the right thing sort of view. If we believe that she's truly on our side, that's kind of the only way she could be truly on our side, which is this is all just a little scheme, a plan. They're waiting for the perfect moment. They want to get certain people riled up, like the ladies of The View going, oh, we need to see those files. I think we just need to see those files. There is a fella named Ed Martin. He's, I believe, the assistant deputy attorney of the DOJ. I'm pretty sure that's his position. I could be wrong on that. But I do know that he was appointed by Donald Trump himself, and he was given mandate powers. Mandates are not laws. They're sort of close to laws, but they're not laws. They're just rules. And he was supposed to be looking into all the auto pen stuff, Joe Biden's auto pen, making sure, or finding out which ones are actually valid and which ones aren't. And it's possible that he has been quietly building cases against the group of Democrats who, have been implicated in the files. from the government X account, he reposted a tweet, or an X post, whatever, and it says, "I believe before the midterms, there will be a line of incarcerated bad guys longer than the Black Friday line at Walmart." And so he reposted that and left the comment, "Fair prediction." There was another one, "It's going to be wild when Maduro tries to plead to lesser charges by offering evidence of the blank 2020 was blank." Sorry, evidence that the blank 2020 was blank. And he reposted it with a big exclamation point. If you haven't been paying attention, which it's possible you haven't, it's possible you have, if I haven't said it before, the Dominion voting machines and all that, that was all coming from Venezuela. I don't know why. I don't know what Venezuela has to do with technology for voting machines, but that's where we got it from. So by arresting Maduro, we have essentially just arrested, or just captured a whole lot of information on the Dominion voting machines. So it would essentially mean that in order to plead to lesser charges, he would have to give us some information, and that information would be on the voting fraud. That would be beautiful, to use Jim Carrey's line. Yeah, it's really just seeming like everything is being perfectly timed. That's what it has kind of looked like from the beginning of this administration. On day one, he signed all those executive orders to get everybody hyped up. Belief in them kind of has fallen off, as belief on the Democrat side that they were going to win in, midterms and whatnot. Because if they win in the midterms, they're going to impeach him. He's out of there. We're done. We're finished, and we won't stand a chance in really any affairs in the next, time it takes for us to start a civil war. It's going to be really, really bad for us if we lose the midterms. So all the Pam Bondi fumbles and stuff, that seem to be to rile up the Democrats and make them think like, oh, we've got this nailed, no problem. But with this, Maduro arrest and Epstein file release, it's looking like it's turning the other direction. So, who knows? Maybe we see a line the size of the Walmart Black Friday line, full of, hands behind the back, and they're all our Democrat leaders. I think that would be better than anything I've ever seen in my life. I would love to see that, and I hope it happens. In the meantime, all we can do is wait, hope, pray. That's about it. And, well, we'll see what happens. And before we close the show with our hero of the week, I want to show you this strange lady. Perhaps the anti-hero of the week. Maybe that was Chank, I don't know. But anyway, here's a real strange clip.
Hamburger comes with a dose of misogyny. The assumption that the best protein comes from corpses is a racist belief. 21st century animal eating requires our complicity in a new colonialism. Our whiteness is part of the problem of meat eating. If you eat animals, you take up more climate space. Meat eating is also one of the ways gender-based structures of oppression are perpetuated. Men in the West are taunted to renew their man card by eating meat because that's what real men do. That's the sexual politics of meat, and it reveals how unsettled masculinity really is. That's why after 9/11, That's why after 9/11, a focus on men as heroes and on meat eating became part of the reclamation of a wounded masculinity. When a black man was elected as U.S. president, We saw how white this wounded masculinity was. White supremacists weaponized it, eating meat, eggs, and dairy. Images of milk-drinking white men, of platters groaning with meat, and the baiting of liberal men as so-called soy boys are all part of the neo-Nazi messaging. Sexy cows, sexy pigs, sexy chickens, sexy fishes, who all just want to have fun.
Your hamburger comes with a side of misogyny. That's a pretty funny line, honestly. Boy, oh boy, what an interesting lady. After 9/11, that's when we decided that eating meat was for real men. I think we've known that for a few 100,000 years. It's also for real women. Real human beings need protein. And yes, it is the best source of protein. If you know of a better source of protein, please leave it down in the comments. We'll talk about it next week. I know you can get protein from like nuts and things like that. But unequivocally, meat and dairy are the best places to get protein. Eggs, probably the most powerful protein powerhouse there is out there. Now, I know you can get it from a protein bar, but that's not really the same thing. There are other ways to get protein, absolutely, but yeah, it's going to be meat for me. And I like how this is white-centered. Are you trying to tell me that no brown people eat meat? They don't eat chicken, well, I know Muslims don't eat pork, and Indians don't eat cow, but no brown people eat any meat whatsoever. That's what you're telling me? Well, that's news to me. Very interesting. What a strange lady. But no, meat eating is not the psyop here that's going on. Soy boys, that's the psyop. They've been trying to dole down masculinity for so long. They're doing pretty well at it. But everybody's laughing at her because they know it's not true. That's ridiculous. No, we eat meat because meat's delicious, it's easy to get, and, well, it's good for you. There's not a single piece of meat out there that's dangerous in any way. You can even eat raw beef, just straight out of the package or straight off the cow. Not going to hurt you. Chicken, pork, they carry a little bit more, bacteria and stuff, but still, I've eaten plenty of raw chicken. I don't really eat a whole lot of pork. Bacon is pretty much kind of the only, and like a honey ham kind of thing. Those are kind of the only pork bits I eat. The occasional pork chop here and there. But I don't have any real reason to eat it other than just I prefer chicken or beef. And then, of course, during Lent, Fridays, it's tuna all the way, just a can. I don't really eat fish. I think fish are more closely related to vegetables than they are a meat source. But anyway, that's just me being goofy, really. But yeah, soy boy, that's the true, I guess, victim of the psyop. The psyop has been pushing us towards soy boy, which is no good. No good for the human race in any way, shape, or form. If everybody on Earth was just as feminine as the most feminine females, well, first off, I think the human race would end pretty darn quickly there because women would not be attracted to that. And second off, that might be the only way to be utopian in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, some man is going to come in and take over because nobody can fight back because everybody's a little pusillanimous. So, eat your meat. It's a great source of protein. It's great for you. And, well, it's delicious. Now on to our hero of the week. This week's hero is a man I've never heard of before, speaking at a place I've never heard of before. But what he has to say is perhaps one of the most important things of our, well, probably decade. Listen to this.
As a boy, he had the impression that ice cream was something whose base flavor was vanilla, and all other flavors were added on top of vanilla. And he said it was only at some point in his youth that he discovered that vanilla itself is a flavor, and a very complex flavor. Now, we in the West have created an extraordinarily complex and rich flavor, and we have spent recent years pretending that we have no flavor, or that flavor is something that only other people bring to us. We don't really have anything very great, or if we do, we oughtn't to talk about it too much. And I believe that that is flat out wrong, because what we have in cities like that just a little way up the road, and in the cities of Europe and the West, are the greatest civilization that the world has known. And we have the choice. We have the choice either to live in the wastelands or to rebuild them.
We have rebuilt before, and we will rebuild again. I love the way he put this. It is kind of the melting pot sort of theory. And if you look at a melting pot, I think I've said this before, a melting pot, like a stew. You know, you make a beef stew, you don't want to just add, I don't know, cherries to it, or banana. You're going to turn it into something real strange there. Bananas and rice. You don't want to add that to a beef stew. You have that on its own, okay? Take that to maybe, I don't know, the east coast of Africa. Have your bananas and rice over there. But over here, we're going to eat beef stew. Now, in terms of vanilla, yeah, I mean, white people have been called vanilla for a long time, whether it's in the bedroom or, politically. And I don't think either of those are vanilla in the way that people are portraying them to be. Vanilla is the best flavor out there. It is wonderful on its own. It is very complex. There's lots of stuff going on in there. And also, you can add to it and make some wonderful things. One of my favorite ways to eat vanilla ice cream is with some like jam or marmalade or something like that. Scoop of marmalade on a scoop of vanilla. Beautiful flavors. But still, your base is the vanilla. Without the vanilla, you're not just eating a spoonful of jam. That's ridiculous. No one's going to do that. Without vanilla, it's nothing. It's terrible. It's ugh. But with a base of vanilla, anything can be done. That was Douglas Murray, a terrific human being, a beautiful brain up there. And I hope to hear more from him in the near future. I'll be looking out for more of what he does. And he is our hero of the week. Douglas Murray, come on down and accept your Coors Banquet. I believe last week I called it a Coors Light, which it's not. It's not too different. A little bit stronger in flavor, a little bit higher in alcohol. But if you're not drinking Coors Banquet, you're not living. Anywho, thank you very much, Douglas Murray. God bless you, viewers. God bless this big, beautiful rock we live on. And we'll see you next week.